nation. I'm a soldier, won't surrender. Faith is like a fire that never burns to embers. The voice of the unheard. Love is the answer.
I gotta speak it, believe it, that's how I feel inside.
I can't sit here quiet.
You can take my heart, you can take my breath when you pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. Can you hear me? Are you listening? Sleeping in the shadows could be making history. Through the fire, on the water, used to be a slave, but now you are a conqueror.
They can take my heart, they can take my breath when they pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. Up, 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 up. We're rising up, 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 up. Rising up, 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 up. We're rising up, 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 up. Rising up, 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 up. We're rising up, 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 up. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance. You can't resist us. This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us.
And happy Sunday to everybody out there. Excuse me, I'm still going through with this this cough here. Welcome to another episode of Straight Talk with Joe Vlad. I'm glad you are here today. This is, can you believe it? This is our last episode of the year of 2022. It's unbelievable. We've already gone through a whole year. It's just crazy to me. But we've had a lot go on this year. We have a lot to look forward to next year. So let's wrap it up this year talking about the one thing that I think is most important in our society. And it's something that makes this country more different and I think better than any other country. And that's our freedom of speech. At least what we think we have. We think we have freedom of speech. But we're going to dive into it a little bit more. But for those of you who are new to the show, I am Joe Vlad. I'm your host and your guiding light, kind of guiding you through all this craziness that we go through on a daily basis and things that you might not even understand that are going on. But we'll try to make easy light of it. It looks like I'm a little high there. I'm probably screaming at you guys, except from what it sounds like. Let me lower that down a little bit. How about now? Excuse me. And of course, this show always works best when you're involved. If you want to call into the show, 203-679-9610, or you can email us straighttalkjv@gmail.com. And I picked a couple questions out from the list that's been compiling over the last, I think, month since we've done the last a series of emails. So we'll get into those at the end of the show. But again, the one thing I want to talk about right now is the erosion of our First Amendment. And that's on, and I'm not saying it just on the conservative side, but on the liberal side also. Where is, I thought I had it up there, but I don't. So for most people who don't actually know what the First Amendment says. I'm going to read it to you. So Congress should make no law representing an establishment of a religion, of course, freedom of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, which is why we're supposed to have a free press, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So basically, they're not supposed to make any law that restricts what you have to say, especially when it comes to against public officials. Now, what we found to be happening is that Congress has been getting around that by going to the tech companies and making sure that they are censoring us. Now, anyone who's listened to this show before, we've talked about social medias. And listen, social media organizations, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, listen, they're all private entities and they could do what they want. If they want to censor speech, they can, but they can't do it under the disguise of it being an open and free platform. And that's where it gets tricky. Because what we've been finding out, especially with Twitter, which we'll get into Elon and what he did in a couple of minutes, but what he's been doing is releasing all this information about Twitter that we knew they were doing, that they were suppressing conservative speech. They were canceling conservative profiles, and same thing with Facebook. Facebook was working with the FBI to make sure that their so-called misinformation, the Hunter Biden laptop story, was squashed right before the election. Now, that's a huge issue because that's the government working. Like, remember what we said here. Congress should make no law representing establishment of religion or abridging the freedom of speech. So they're not technically, so again, they're getting around it. They're going through the little loophole. So they're not going to make laws against it. They're going to Facebook and Instagram and all these other social media platforms and Twitter. We're saying, oh, we totally agree with you. Let's just get rid of it all. So it's not really free speech. But again, everywhere, I know my phone blew up for the last couple of days with Elon Musk. So what did Elon Musk do? So Elon Musk, you can't be saying that you're for free speech and you want it to be a place of open ideas, Twitter, and then go ahead and block several journalists off of Twitter. Now, he's saying that again, and here's the issue that I have. I get going after the one person that was tweeting coordinates to his plane. I get that. It's a safety issue. First of all, I don't even know why that's public information to begin with. That shouldn't be public information. If I have a private jet and I'm traveling somewhere, why that's public information, I have no idea. But right now it is. And you can track anybody's airplane at any given time on a website. And he was tweeting in real time the coordinates of where that plane was. And Elon Musk booted him off of Twitter. I get it. As for an individual, that's a safety concern, especially when people are really out to get you. But to then go in and suspend journalists who happen to be following that person, that I think is taking a step too far. Again, you can't be for freedom of speech and then go and block people who had nothing to do with what the violation was. But just because they put stories out there that are not in your favor, you therefore go and block them. That's just not right. And it's not fair. And that's not making a platform where there's freedom of speech. So I'm okay. Like I said, I'm okay with these private companies doing what they want, just as long as they're not trying to hide behind telling people that they have the freedom of speech and they have an open platform that's not going to sit there and restrict what they have to say. That's my only issue I have with privately owned companies, which is what Facebook and the rest of them are. But this is an And I definitely thought that this was, I'm going to put this up there. This was the best cartoon that I could possibly find that I thought really said it all in one meme, because everyone knows that I love memes. And it really is the most powerful piece of political art I've ever seen. And obviously, if for those of you who don't know what you're looking at, the Lady of Justice being held down, obviously by they're being censored by the big corporations, and of course the justice being held down by the Democrats, who obviously run the Department of Justice right now. This is definitely a good piece. And again, I'm glad Twitter's on there too, because again, it's not just about the far left it's also about the right. The right, and when they're messing up. Because they should be called out on it. Just like we call out liberals here, we have to call out the same hypocrisy that Republicans or conservatives have. And that is it. But again, when it comes down to freedom of speech, listen, we have a huge problem in this country. If anyone hasn't seen the latest poll, 73% of people are afraid to say what they think because they're afraid of the cancel culture. Now, the left will tell you that there's no such thing, and the right will tell you that it's happening every single day. And to me, it is. It is. It's not the fact that we think it is. It's that we've been seeing it. And anytime you turn around and say something that's on your mind, if you're not in the mainstream of the wokeness group, they try to cancel you. That's just a fact. And it has shown again, this is a New York Times poll. This isn't even a conservative poll. This is a New York Times poll that shows that 73% of Americans are afraid to say what they think of fear of the backlash. It is absolutely craziness in this country today that anyone is afraid to say what they believe. Now, of course, there's obviously going to be part of us, like most of them here, that have no problem saying what they believe. Oh, I'm sorry, I said 73. It's 83%. 83% of adults say that it's a problem that Americans do not speak freely in everyday situations of fear of retaliation and harsh criticism. 83% on a New York Times poll. What does that tell you about the state of freedom of speech in America today? If we don't take care of this now, over the next year, we're not going to be able to have any conversations on issues that matter the most. Because if we're not willing to have these discussions, I'm trying to look at I'm trying not to take off my glasses. I am admitting that I'm finally getting old, and they gave me progressives. I have new glasses, in case you didn't notice, and they're progressives. So as I look down, it's magnifying everything, and it's making everything wavy, and my eyes aren't used to it yet. But I'm trying to read what's on the screen that I wrote out, and I'm having a hard time doing that. But yeah, it's a problem of getting old, I guess. But yeah, I mean, for individuals not to flourish without confidence to take risks, pursue ideas, and express thoughts that others might reject, this country goes downward because we're not willing to have the conversations on what they consider to be the most important issues facing today. And if we're not willing to have those conversations and protect the one thing that is the bedrock of a self-governing country, it is freedom of speech. Because we all know what happens when freedom of speech collapses. then you get the Second Amendment. That's when you get the Second Amendment. And that's when people grab onto that. We never want to get to that point. We should never get to that point. But right now, 83% of Americans believe you can't say what's on your mind. Because ideas that go unchallenged by opposing views risk becoming weak rather than strengthened by tough scrutiny. When speech is stifled and dissenters are shut out of public discord, a society also loses the ability to resolve conflict, and it faces the risk of political violence. As I said, the Second Amendment takes over. That's why the government put it second. That's why the Founding Fathers put it second to spur freedom of speech. Because when freedom of speech doesn't work, Second Amendment takes over. We're not willing to put the, again, and this comes from both sides. Comes from both sides. We need to be willing to have conversations that are that most people do not like, that are uncomfortable. And we got to be able to do them honestly. But then there comes the media. And then if you remember in what the First Amendment said, we're supposed to have a free press. We're supposed to have a free press. Does anyone here actually believe we have a free press? No, the press have taken sides. The press has taken sides. Censorship is a tool used when the lie loses its power. And the only ones and the ones that want to manipulate, such as the tech giants and journalists, well, so-called journalists, they become the manipulators of freedom of speech. And I think this is the one that I again, we all know that some networks are far left. We know some are far right. That's just the way it is today. But again, when you sit there and try to say that you're objective and that you're journalists, and no, you're not. And if we could just be honest about that, it's a starting point. But this clip I'm about to play is really, listen, I've always said it. When liberals slip, or so-called slip, with their words, believe them, because they honestly believe this. Because what do I say about liberalism? What is it all about? Liberalism is about control. They want control of you and your thoughts. They are taking control of our public school systems with the teachers' unions and critical race theory and all these liberal agendas that they push in our school system. This, I think, let me just play it for you.
Well, and I think that the dangerous, edges here are that he's trying to undermine the media, trying to make up his own facts. And it could be that while unemployment and the economy worsens, he could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think. And that is our job.
Yeah.
She honestly believes that. That is she truly believes that is her job as the press, to control your thoughts. That wasn't something that trust me, she didn't want to say that publicly. She didn't mean to say that on air. And I'm sure as soon as that cut, I bet they all looked at each other and said, what the hell? She really meant it. It is their job to tell you what to think. And they do a pretty good job at it, especially for those who aren't staying informed on their own. It's a real problem in America today. Because in today's America, everybody wants everything right now. And it's all about making the money. It's all about getting the hits. It's all about getting the click. And they just go to throw things out there. I think Denzel Washington said it the best. He says it doesn't even matter who's right anymore. It's who gets it out there first. Who gets the clicks. You don't even have to be right anymore. You could just you could go ahead and write a correction 5 days later on page 20 of your newspaper and call it a day. But people believe it. The Hunter laptop story is a prime example of that. It's a prime example of that. We all knew the Hunter Biden laptop was real. We had copies of it. They had the receipt from the store where he dropped it off. All the emails, everything that was on it were verified. But it didn't fit their narrative. And again, the tech giant censored you for saying it. And the journalists controlled your way of thinking by constantly bombarding you with this misinformation. It's Russian misinformation. And the uninformed believed it. Which is why if you look at the polls, a lot of Democrats said if they knew about this, they definitely would have not voted for Joe Biden. Now, I'm not going to get into this whole, would that have changed the election or any of that kind of stuff. Let's not go down that road. Let's not go down that road. We don't know. But should the American people have been told about it instead of lied to about it? Absolutely. And again, this is the America we're living in today. 83% of Americans are afraid to speak their mind, at risk of being ridiculed and canceled. I wonder what an America would look like. Now, again, we're not sitting there and saying, we're not going true libertarian, where you can just say anything you want. Listen, there are restrictions to what you can say. There are restrictions. You're not going to incite violence. Not going to scream fire in a movie theater. Child pornography, obviously. So there are limitations. But I wonder what America would look like if we brought back our conversations to, say, 10 years ago, where we were actually able to have conversations with those we disagree with. Now you have maybe a 60% chance of them ending in violence. And we could show those videos all day long. But it's a real problem going into 2023. And I guarantee you here, we have freedom of speech here at Straight Talk. We will say whatever we want. And you're free to say whatever you want. Listen, not everyone has to agree with me, and I prefer that most people don't agree with me. Because at least then we can have conversations on where we find the common ground stuff. So I don't really worry whether or not people agree with me. But it's again, we're going down a dangerous road, and I like to go into 2023, making sure that everybody feels comfortable saying what they feel is right and what they want, and we'll see what happens. So, for all you fantasy football people, today is the start of the playoff season for fantasy football. In case you did not know. For those of you who are in the fantasy football world. I have a bye week this week because I came in second. I'm in second ranking right now, even though I really should be first. But I'm not. I'll take second. So I don't play until next week. But I keep checking back on my scores here. And I'm hoping that my brother gets beat this week, so I don't have to play his team. Even though his team is garbage when compared to mine. My team is phenomenal inside and every situation Tuesday, and my team had a lot of injuries, but my backup players have come out to do some amazing things. So good luck to all you fantasy football fans out there who are hitting the refresh button like a crackhead, just like this, having to get another fix of it. That's basically. I'm not even in the games this week, and I'm sitting there like just trying to see where everybody's at. So right now, they are looking at. Of course, if my team was playing this week against anybody, I'd be blowing them away. My team is pretty damn good. I gotta say, my team is phenomenal. And I'm already at 160 points. I think everyone else is like 106. I think it's the top. But I digress. All right, so a lot of things going on in the city. A lot of emails I've been getting about this. Oh, my God. Meriden officials address violations identified in state workplace safety inspections. Now, all you anti-government people, and all of you that have contacted me, please stop with this. I know I responded to everybody, and I'm going to give the city somewhat of a pass on this just because I understand this. So if anyone doesn't know, every couple of years or so, OSHA will just show up. Well, Connecticut's version of OSHA will show up and do inspections of various plants and facilities and all this kind of stuff. And obviously, apparently the city of Meriden racked up a good number of violations. About 120 racked up. But just like, tractor trailers and trucking companies and this and that, every time there's an accident, when you hear, oh, this trucking company had this many violations. Listen, they find violations for everything. I gotta tell you, I've had myself personally. I've had like maybe 6 or 7 inspections, random inspections by DOT police out on the roads. And listen, there is not a single time that I have had one of these spot inspections and they have not found something. They always find something. Always find something. So when I hear 120 instances when they visit all these different facilities, I definitely think that's not too bad. And going deeper into it, what they found, it's really not that bad. And they had I think a lot of theirs were fire extinguishers that didn't have the writing of the inspection for the monthly inspection. It was just, minor things like that, really rack up to a lot of inspections. And again, as with any organization in government, it's all about the money. Now, if it wasn't all about the money, there would be no reason to sit there and say, we're going to fine you $17,790. They should just say, go ahead and fix it. We'll see you in a month and we'll see if you're done. But they don't do that because it's always about the money. So the more things they find, the more money they can sit there and fine you. Listen, and they know most of the time you're just going to pay because it's not worth your time to fight it. And prime example of this. So I had one of my spot inspections. I was driving my 60,000 pound truck that the DMV has been charging me for registration. Now for commercial trucks, you're charged for registration every year based on the weight of your truck, how much your truck could pull. So I had a 60,000 pound truck and I had a spot inspection, and they turned around and said, no, I was overweight. And I knew I wasn't overweight because I came out at 54,000 pounds, 54,250 to be exact, is what the scale read. And I said, no, I have a 60,000 pound truck. They tell me, no, I had a 54,000 pound truck, even though all my documentation said otherwise. But they gave me a $138 ticket. Now, do you think that it's going to be worth my time to go and fight a $138 ticket? You think it's going to be worth my time to waste a half a day at a courthouse to sit there and fight a $138 ticket? Or do you think I'm just going to pay it and move on with my day? Well, this is the same thing with what OSHA does and every other government regulatory organization does. Because if they really didn't care about the money, they would just turn around and say, all right, the city, we'll be back in a month, go fix this. But instead, they fine you $17,790. Of course, that's taxpayer money that's going to need to be spent. I think they got to reduce down to just under $9,000. Because they know the city's not going to fight it. It's not worth their time to do it. And the state made $9,000 just like that. So that's why when I see these inspections and people are blowing up my emails about it, oh, look what the city's doing, da-da-da, look at all. No, it's not. Listen, there's many things to go after the city about, the way they run the city. This is not one of them. This is definitely not one of them. So, like I said, to me, when I see how many spots they went to, and only 120, and most of them were fire extinguisher violations, as far as the tags not being updated, or there's not the proper chain or the proper rope. I mean, come on. No. So I'm going to give a city a pass on that because, again, I deal with regulatory organizations in this city, in this state every day. It's just ridiculous. Documented, but they did not. Yeah, many of it could have been Yeah, they could have been. Listen, again, it's all minor stuff that every organization, no matter whether it's the city, a corporation, a small business, it all happens. Listen, like I said, they're going to find something. So I am not going after the city on this. I think it's a waste of time. I think this, like I said, there's bigger fish to fry in the city than dealing with that kind of stuff. Another one people keep sending me about this whole floater position for the fire department. Now, I've been doing my research on the fire department and trying to find out about why their salaries and stuff are so high. And I heard one reason that really is blowing my mind right now. Because right now, the city of Meriden is over budget on overtime $2.2 million. It's a 47.5% jump from previous years. But what I'm hearing here is two different things. One, the vacation time, which obviously you can't do anything about. And I think the fire chiefs talked about that. Obviously, injuries, they happen. It's a dangerous job. I get it. But one part I'm trying to verify. So if anyone's even out there, even if city councilor members are out there, they could chime in. Firefighters are getting paid 12 hours for working 8 hours. That I am trying to verify. If you work an 8-hour day as a fireman in the city of Maryland, you're getting paid for 12 hours. That I am trying to confirm right now. So if anyone has information on that, I can't get a hold of their contract. I tried finding their contract online and I can't find it. So I'm going to have to do a freedom of information if nobody else has it. So if they are indeed paying firefighters for 12 hours when they're working 8 hours, that's a huge issue for me. And I would like to know who the hell negotiated that contract, because you're talking millions of dollars. But we'll wait to find out on that. But listen, other than that, to have 2 floaters, I don't think that's necessary right now, just because they have 6 or 7. They have 6 or 7 that new firefighters that are coming into the system, and they will be able to help cover some of that. And I think, and again, if they're working overtime, it's going to be at a lower rate. What most people don't realize that when you do hire someone, it's not just their salaries; it's their it's all the perks that come along with it, and it really inflates how much it actually costs to hire each person to a city job, or really to any job. So I think we should wait to see what happens with the 7 new hires that come on. They'll be starting at a lower scale, and maybe them having to do some extra time of overtime. I mean, it won't alleviate the problem, but it definitely will lower it from having, again, the senior staff doing it. But we'll see how that plays out. Let's go to the emails, because we got about 20 minutes left, and I picked out a couple. This one actually cracked me up when I first read it, because I actually had to respond to her and ask her if she knew, if she actually paid attention to what's going on. And you'll understand what I'm talking about when I read the comment. This is from Trisha and Meriden. And Trisha, I apologize, but this one was too rich for me not to at least put out there to the people. Trish wants to know, what will you be doing at the state level to help get juvenile crime under control? Trisha, in case you didn't know, or you weren't paying attention, we didn't win the election, so we won't be doing anything up in Hartford. Now, what will we be doing from here? Well, obviously, we'll be doing the same thing we've always been doing. And that's, again, bringing to light the craziness that they're doing up in Hartford, and making sure that, we're using our circle of influence, something we talk about all the time here, to make sure that, things are being done in a kosher way, and that we're not being screwed. But what will I be doing at a state level to help juvenile crime? Unfortunately, it won't be anything. I mean, there's a lot of things we would have wanted to do. Yeah, yeah, right. She might still be seeing the sign. That comes down tomorrow. But yeah, listen, juvenile crime is a huge issue. Obviously, we just witnessed a multi-city crime spree, as they would call it, with juveniles again. Stealing a car, trying to rob ladies of their purses, this and that, trying to run people down, and then taking police on a high-speed chase. Again, what is the deterrent? There is none. They know there's nothing that's going to happen to them. And again, you heard what Jan said. She's not going to risk ruining their lives over it. She's not going to do it. No Democrat's going to do it. Again, they don't care. They don't care about the victims. That'd be freaking hilarious. But listen, Democrats aren't going to do anything about this. Again, elections have consequences. People have spoken already. They have no issue with it. They have no issue with it. As long as they can still kill babies, they don't care. Listen, priorities, people, priorities. They don't care about victims anymore. And if they're going to do it, they're doing it because they have to. Ain't nothing going to change. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. Oh, absolutely, they're to be commended. Listen, we have one of the greatest police departments anywhere. I'll put our police department up against anybody's. Today's Marion Police Department, I'll put today's Marion Police Department against anybody's. They do a phenomenal job. Against all odds. Against pushback from the city, pushback from the council, pushback from organizations, pushback from citizens, against all of that. Pushback against the state, from the state, all this. With all of this against them, they still do a commendable job. One worthy of our praise. But again, these juveniles know at the end of the day, even when they get caught, it's not if they get caught, it's when they get caught. They know they're back out on the streets a couple hours later. And I love how they put in the paper, they were brought to Bridgeport Detention Center. Sonia Jokes especially. But I love in the paper they said, oh, they were taken to Bridgeport Juvenile Detention Center. Yeah, where they were released. You ask, what's being done? Trisha, nothing's being done. Absolutely nothing. In fact, if you have an issue with it, you're the problem. They're victims. They're victims of their society. They're victims of their situation. They hold no accountability for their actions. So, Jerry in Cheshire, as a fellow small business owner, what do you think should be done to fight against the highway use tax? Listen, just don't pay it. I'm still convinced that they have no way of implementing this. This is all on the honor system. And you heard it during the campaign. You know, my opponent said, oh, no, this is only for tractor trailer trucks, which is absolutely false. It's for any commercial vehicle. Now, again, it's all on the honor system. If you don't drive on the highways, you technically don't have to pay anything. And who's gonna be there to dictate how many miles you drove on the highway? And all these tractor trailers that are coming through the state, do you think any of them are going to know that there is a highway use tax in Connecticut now? Do you think any of them are actually going to go and voluntarily sign up for it? And if they're pulled over by the DOT police, they're not asking if you're signed up for it, because it's not in their jurisdiction. They're simply to figure out if you're safe to drive on the roads. So someone tell me how they're gonna implement. Now, the only thing they could do, remember what they said to us. Oh, well, this is gonna be, 60 to 70% of this is gonna be paid by out-of-state drivers. No, it's not. Because they're not gonna register. But what is the one thing the state does have? All of us that are registered in the state. They know we drive on the roads, so they're going to come after us. They're going to come after us because they know we have this many trucks that are on the road. and these many trucks that are subject to this tax. So yes, I will sign up. I will sign up and say, hey, yeah, okay. But then it's the honor system. How many miles did you drive on the roads, on the highways this month? None. And there's no way for them to disprove it. There's no way. What are you going to follow truck drivers all day long? I'll take the back roads all through this state. No problem. And if it hurts anybody, it's going to hurt the towns and the cities who are going to have their roads tore up by big tractor trailers. Because a lot of people are going to be just staying off the highways. Take the back roads. I'm on the back roads most of the day anyways. So it really is. License plate readers don't matter either. We don't have them here in the state. Maybe on cruisers they do, but again, how's that all gonna be played out? There's no way they're gonna be able to regulate this, and they're gonna use this for tolls because they know they can't. Listen, there's always an end game to liberals. Liberals' end game are tolls. Plain and simple. The end game for them are tolls. You heard it during the debate on both debates. Jack is for tolls. Jan is for tolls. And they're going to use the excuse, well, we're not making the revenue. They will make the revenue. There's no way they can add it to the registration of vehicles. Impossible. Because they don't know how many miles that each truck is driving. Listen, my $60,000 truck is driving a hell of a lot more highway miles than, let's say, an oil truck, a regular 28,000 pound oil truck. There's no way they're going to be able to distinguish it between the two and tell you estimate how many miles you've driven on it. Because it all depends on what your business is. So many factors come into it. It's impossible to sit there and regulate. But what they're going to do is say, and I guarantee this in a year from now, they're going to say, well, we're not making the revenue that we need from the highway use tax, so we're going to have to look at tolls again. I guarantee you, mark it down, December 18th, 2022, what Joe said. 7:45, Joe predicts in a year we'll be talking about tolls again. And tolls will pass this time because now Democrats have a bigger majority in the House and the Senate. Tolls are coming. It's unfortunate that that's the way it is. Amy, what are your New Year resolutions? I don't really do resolutions. Now, I will say this. I will be making a lot of changes, I believe, in 2023. I think personally, for myself, obviously, learning to fly, I guess, would be one of my New Year's resolutions. I already started it. So I'm hoping by May to have my pilot license. So that is probably my New Year's resolution. Is just to finish up my pilot's license, and then being able to fly. I hope I don't end up like John Denver. So, but yeah, but it's definitely one of my bucket list things. I love aviation, and I absolutely love to fly. So I want to do it on my own and be able to fly anywhere I want, anytime I want, which is to me ultimate freedom. So that is my big New Year's resolution. But other than that, I have some personal things that I think I need to change to in the new year. So that I guess that would be my New Year's resolutions. What time we got? It's okay. We got time. All right. Betsy from Meriden. This one I found interesting. I'm a new listener, and I hear you criticize both sides on a range of issues. My question is: do you fear losing both sides of the political standings with your straight talk? Do you risk losing listeners who are steadfast in either belief? Obviously, Betsy, you obviously are a new listener, and again, I thank you for listening. No, I don't fear any of that because I don't care about who I offend. I look at things, I analyze them, and I give my opinion on them. No matter what it is. And I don't base my opinion on whether or not I'm helping one side or the other. I do pride myself in having straight talk, and I listen, whether people agree with me or not. It is the view of Joe Villano from the way he sees this through what he's read, what he's studied, and what he has witnessed through life and through meetings and everything else under the sun. So no. And if listeners don't like the fact that I criticize their side, I would just say tough shit. So no, I don't expect anybody to walk on eggshells here. We state our facts, we state our opinions, and you know what? We are able to discuss them rationally and respectfully. Again, we've had politicians from the other side on here. And again, they're treated with respect. We could agree to disagree. The only thing you're not allowed to do is come onto this show and try to give your talking points and spin bullshit. That's the only rules here. You know, come in here, speak your mind, speak from what you believe is true to your heart, and we can have a discussion on whether or not you're right, whether I'm right, and we could agree to disagree at the end of the day, but we will walk out of here with respect for one another. And there is no one that has come onto this show that I have not left the show with respect for. Obviously, I think some of them are just complete full of, you know what? I think when we had the deputy mayor on, I think he was he was knee high in bullshit for what he was saying, but he believed it, and we knew he believed it, and I think deep down he believed it, which is even a scarier thought. But you know, it just is what it is. You're not going to agree with everybody, and that's okay. I don't expect all of us here to agree with each other. In fact, if we did, I think we'd have issues. I want people to disagree. I want people to question. I want people to sit there and really think for themselves and say, and go do their research. You know, go do their research. There's plenty. Listen, there are plenty on the other side, again, with this whole OSHA thing. I had my conservative friends who were sitting there just throwing things at me. Just throwing things at me. Like, look at what they're doing. Look at this. It's like, no. Again, this is from my personal experience. Now, listen, they may have never have understood what a state regulatory agency does. I do. Because I deal with the state regulatory agencies all the time. There is nothing. There is nothing that you're going to be able to do about a state agency coming in and literally finding something on you, on anything. So when I read the story and then I read what was happening here, I was like, oh, freaking Connecticut OSHA going right after him, trying to make that money. Because that's all it's about. It's all about the money. Connecticut OSHA was here to make money. Plain and simple. And they made just under $9,000. For stupid things. For things they could have turned around and said, can you please fix this now and be done? And I bet a lot of this stuff could have been fixed within 5 minutes. But at the end of the day, it's not about the wrong chain or the wrong rope. It's not about whether the fire extinguisher had writing on it, even though it's in the green on the meter. You can see that it's green on the meter, so it's good. Does writing it down on that little tag really make it any safer? No, it doesn't. But they know it's not done. And listen, no matter what corporation I ever worked for, we never did it. But again, these regulatory agencies know that. Therefore, it's the first thing they go look at because it's something they can write you up on. It's something that they can make some money on. And at the end of the day, it's all about the money. So, no, I'm giving a pass to the city of Meriden. I'm sure they do a great job, and I'm sure that these little things get overlooked. Should they get overlooked? Probably not, but you know what? I get it. They do. They do. And I'm not going to hold them. I'm not going to sit there and chastise them for it. It just is what it is. We know the game, and it is a game. So, but here I'm gonna go through something that I thought was interesting. Did I just lose it? Damn it! I just canceled off of it. But I am gonna find that real quick because I think we have a couple minutes, and this is kind of the thing that I really, these are the type of things that really scrape my ass. When it comes to people just being honest and straightforward with the people, and this comes from nonprofits also. You know, we sat here and talked about Yule Fest last week. And I try not to, as I said, I try not to get into this little nonsense of the squabbles between within these nonprofits and with the nonprofits with other things. It's just, to me, it's just annoying to me. But at the same time, I can't read an article in the paper the day after someone goes on Meriden Talks and bashes the people for not attending an event that they're putting on. But then, in the next day, read in the paper, organizers pleased with extended Meriden Yule Fest. Now, listen, pick a friggin' side and stick with it. I will respect you more, and I will sit there and commend you for at least sticking to your guns. If you're not happy with the outcome of it, just friggin' say it. Just say it. Don't sit there and talk out of both sides of your mouth. Because you not only make yourself look like a friggin' asshole, but you make your organization look like one also. And that's just facts. So let's just read what this says. The Yule Fest continued their weekend for the first time this year, featuring vendors across Meriden, food vendors, and more. The centerpiece, where is it? Organizers were pleased, and this is the part that really got me. Organizers were pleased with the turnout and reception of the extended festival days from the community. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. Apparently they weren't. It's obviously they weren't, because the next day, the day before this story even hit, the core organizer was bashing people for not showing up. How can you criticize that you only had 400 people show up all weekend and then tell the paper, oh, we're pleased with the turnout and the reception? No. You can't ask me to take you seriously. And again, this is one of the reasons why I don't donate to the Yule Fest. It is one of the organizations that come every year, and I don't donate to. Because I'm sorry, I don't trust the fact that it's being run properly. And I don't trust, because of statements like this, the people who are running it. Now, listen, I like Dave Grzycki. I think he's a stand-up guy. Some people don't. But I have had no problems with Dan. I've seen the way Carrie Teal operates on other organizations and stuff. And again, just to go back to one of these things, again, everyone knows how much this pisses me off. It's extremely important bringing the community together, people together, families together, said Carrie Teal, one of the event's core organizers. First of all, get rid of that word core. She's an organizer. Small businesses are supported by the community, and that's why I do work with things like this. I do work. That's why we do work with these things. Not I. Not I. Again, everyone knows how much I hate that word I. I or me should never be used when talking about an organization or an event that you are working with a committee to put together. Because you are nothing without everybody else. So I put all these things together and I start making a profile of what these people are and each one, which again is why I'm not comfortable giving my money to them, which is why I don't. Now, again, I donate. I'm not pat myself on the back. That's why I donate tens of thousands of dollars every year to different organizations throughout Meriden and some other towns that I do a lot of business with, because I feel it is my responsibility to give back to the community, and I do my best to do that. But again, I'm only going to do that with people who I trust. And I'm sorry, but Yulefest, if you want to move forward and get over, one, the statements that Carrie Teal made on Meriden Talks the day before this article came out, and then have us read this, that organizers are pleased with the turnout? No. So listen, something's got to give here, guys. If you want Yulefest to be a successful committee and be successful, you need to get her out of there. I'm sorry. You can't have it both ways. Because now she's lying. And again, this is lying. Organizers cannot be pleased with it. Either that, she's going out on her own. Either that, she's gone rogue on you guys. Either way, she needs to be cut out. She needs to be cut out for the benefit of your own committee and your own success. She needs to go. Whether or not you guys want to hear that or not, I know she probably does a lot for the committee. I get it. But now you have an issue of trust and respect for her. And right now, I have neither. Because I don't respect the fact that she came out and criticized the people for not showing up, instead of praising the 400 people that did show up. And as the core organizer, she should have just shut up, especially if she knew, and she had to know that that statement was going to come out the next day. Someone's got to justify that one. Did she not think she was going to be called out on her bullshit? No. You're going to. Because again, you're asking the people for money. You're asking small businesses for money to run an event. And you can't even be honest with us. So I'll leave it at that. But everybody, again, I thank you for another great year. Can you believe we've been at, this is our first full year. We started March of 2021. We started March 2021. It's already end of 2022. So again, I thank you guys for always joining us here on Sundays, and even sometimes on Thursdays. It's always a pleasure being here. I absolutely love being here. I love doing what we do. Again, do we wish things that were a little different at the end of this year? Would we be happy going up to Hartford on January 1st? Yeah, but you know what? It is what it is. It just shows that we still have some more work to do. We need to make sure we get people informed and get them paying attention to what's going on. And it's gonna happen at a slow pace, but we'll eventually get there. But for those of you who I do not see before next Sunday, please have an absolutely Merry Christmas. And I'm sure I will not see you guys before New Year's because, like I said, this will be our last live show. I am cutting a best of show for next week. So that will be playing, but this will be our last live show. And it has been a terrific year. I love it. I look forward to 2023. We got a lot of good things to look forward to. We have a municipal election coming up next year. Again, everyone knows how much I love elections. So we'll be analyzing that and seeing who's going to step up to the plate. I hear we have a lot of seats that are going to be open. So we'll wait to see what happens, and we'll see who throws their hat in the rings, and we'll have them on the show and let them speak their piece and let them say what's on their mind. But like I said, until then, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all of you. I love each and every one of you. And until next time, have a great night. God bless you. And of course, as always, God bless America. Guys, until next time, until next year, 2023, I fear you good night.
And a million faces formed together, made for elevation. And the soldier won't surrender faith. This like a fire that never burns to embers. The voice of the unheard. Love is the answer.
I gotta speak and believe it, that's how I feel inside.
I can't sit here quiet.
You can take my heart, you can take my breath when you pry it from the cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder, magic, static. Call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance. You can't resist us. Can you hear me? Are you listening? Sleeping in the shadows could be making history. Through the fire, on the water, used to be a slave, but now you are a conqueror.
They can take my heart.